President Trump today angrily denounced the support of anyone in his ranks who cares about the Jeffrey Epstein case, aka a significant number of people in his base who, by the way, elected Trump after he pledged to release the Epstein files, after his surrogate Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson that billionaires were backing Kamala Harris because they were terrified Trump would release the Epstein list. Now, this latest kerfuffle started this morning with Trump's post on Truth Social, where he continued to falsely assert that the Epstein files are some sort of Democratic ploy. He wrote, quote, "Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore," unquote. This same energy continued in the Oval Office this afternoon, where the president said this.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had.
It's, of course, not a waste of time to care about the fact that dozens, if not hundreds, of survivors of rape, assault, trafficking, and more have been denied justice in the Epstein case from the jump. Aside from Epstein's own vile crimes, Epstein allegedly helped other powerful people in his orbit get away with heinous actions, including sex abuse, sex trafficking, in some cases the sexual abuse of minors. Here's just one portion of a victim impact statement surrounding the trial for Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. One victim, who went by the pseudonym Kate, wrote to the judge, quote, "I witnessed Maxwell's relentless and insatiable drive to meet the sexual needs of Epstein at any cost to the vulnerable girls and women upon whom she preyed and fed to Epstein and other powerful men. The many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would have never occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role of Ghislaine Maxwell played." Kate went on to write that the consequences of what Maxwell did have been far-reaching in her life. And this has been, let's just say it, this has been a huge about face for Trump. He's the dog who caught the bus. On a podcast just last fall, he promised he would release the Epstein files.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them. Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Back in 2019, in Trump's first term, he retweeted a baseless conspiracy theory suggesting that Epstein's death was tied to Bill and Hillary Clinton. The Epstein case is sadly not a hoax, as the president now claims. So what's going on here? Let's go to CNN's Kristen Holmes at the White House. Kristen, Trump has gone from saying everyone should move on from Epstein to saying he doesn't even want the support of people who care about this. That's a lot of people. We should note that in the not-so-recent past, those who cared about this case have included his son, Don Jr., his Vice President, J.D. Vance, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and on and on. What's the thinking here?
Jake, I'm not really sure there is thinking behind this. A lot of this seems to be unforced errors by President Trump. I've talked to a number of people around him who do believe that they are understanding where the base stands, but it still seems unclear that President Trump realizes what a big deal this is to so many of his supporters. And just to give some clarity here, it's not just the people who voted for them. It's also the big personalities on the right and some really who had never voted before, now part of the MAGA movement, who drew in their supporters, people who have podcasts, YouTube shows, to get them to the polls to vote for Donald Trump in order to release the Epstein files. And part of this, what I'm hearing from these supporters, is they don't really understand why exactly he's made this about face. Here's what he said in the Oval Office today.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work.
A couple of other things he said, that he has lost faith in certain people because of their belief in these so-called Epstein files, that the Republicans have been duped. Again, as you noted, some of the people who've been placed in the highest roles in his administration, I guess, are some of these same people who were allegedly duped by this quote-unquote Epstein hoax, as President Trump has said. Now, our colleague DJ Judd just caught up with President Trump as he was leaving an event and asked about whether or not he would appoint a special counsel or consider appointing a special counsel. He said he has nothing to do with it. And let's be clear, if someone was going to appoint a special counsel, it would, of course, have to go through the Attorney General's office. But as we have reported time and time again since Donald Trump took office, the Justice Department is operating the least independently that it has in modern history. So, of course, President Trump would have everything to do with a decision about a special counsel here, Jake.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Let's discuss this with two former Trump White House officials. Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications director in the first term. Jim Schultz, former Trump White House lawyer. Jim, you've worked with Trump on a very personal level. Explain to us the mindset here and what you would advise him as his lawyer to say right now.
So in terms of what folks are thinking here, and you know, not to get to the crux of this, I think we need to be more concerned, less concerned about MAGA, more concerned about the victims associated with these cases.
I agree.
Right? When you saw people walking around with the binders outside of that, I thought I handled human trafficking cases on behalf of victims on a pro bono basis. I'm thinking, what are the victims thinking at this moment with people walking outside the White House, reporters with these binders purportedly containing information? They don't know what's in those binders. They don't know what's going to come out. And purportedly containing information, the trauma, we have to think about the trauma that those folks are going through, those women are going through, who had been abused, who had been purportedly trafficked, and you know what their reaction is to that issue. And I think we're losing all of that. The news media is losing it. The White House is losing it. The Attorney General lost it when they paraded around with those binders. And I think MAGA is losing sight of that too. And the Democrats in Congress are doing the same thing. They're politicizing something that's traumatic for folks. And this needs to be governed by and through the court system. And judges need to help make these determinations by and through the Department of Justice if it's something that's going to be released.
I totally agree with you, and that's why we interviewed the attorney for some of the victims yesterday, and it's why I already mentioned them. Mike Dubke, let me ask you, notwithstanding the point that Jim just made, this is now a political crisis for the president of some sort, at least with his base. Laura Loomer, who is a conspiracy theorist and somebody that I'd rather not even mention, but she has the ear of the president. I mean, she suggested some firings in the National Security Council, and he followed through. She told Politico that she worries that his handling of the Epstein case could consume his presidency. She said, quote, "Obviously, this is not a complete hoax, given the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison in Florida for her crimes and activities with Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a convicted sexual predator." Loomer told Politico. That's all true. This is why I said, and I'll reiterate it again, the best thing the president can do is appoint a special counsel to handle the Epstein files investigation. Again, that she sounds reasonable there. She's not a reasonable person, but still.
Well,
that
she's also a leader within this movement.
That's exactly
so what she says on this topic matters.
Yeah.
And to Jim's point, this is a political story now, like it or not. The courts are almost secondary to what is happening. I frankly am surprised I'm not surprised that the president doubled down or even tripled down on this, because one of the superpowers of Donald J. Trump is that he runs into fire and survives almost every time. In this instance, though, he
lit this fire.
Well, he didn't necessarily light this fire, but he did stoke it.
Yeah.
And as did his supporters. But they stoked it for a really good reason, because a lot of what he won on, one of the reasons that his base loves him so, is because he points to powerful individuals that have been lying to the American people. That whole story, including now sex, is wrapped up in the Epstein case. So I am surprised that he's trying to be dismissive of this at this point. But I think He's playing to his strength, which is running into this. I don't think it will be successful. At some point, we're going to have, you are going to continue to talk about it, as will others. The Democrats will not let this go. And frankly, a good chunk of his supporters will not let this go. And this is going to affect the midterm elections. And this is now a purely political story.